Hey guys, Jason here with MuseGrid.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up and install the Google Maps 2.0 widget. This will also include instructions on how to generate a Google API key, which is required to make this widget work. So what you're going to do is, once you've downloaded the Google Maps product from our website, it will exist in a folder on your local machine. In my case, it happens to be the download folder. You'll have a Google Maps 2.0.0.zip file, as you can see here, and all we're going to do is double click on this, and you'll see that a new folder was extracted out of that zip file that includes a whole host of items in that zip file. You'll see that it includes a mulib file, which is exactly what we need to install these widgets inside of Adobe Muse, along with several other assets which we will come back to in subsequent videos. But in the meantime, let's just simply double click on the mulib file. Now, we are running the latest version of Muse through these widgets, so if you're running a prior version of Adobe Muse, these widgets most likely will not work. But you'll see that we got the imported to library items. Click OK to that, and you'll see our library here, which we have expanded, now has our Google Maps 2.0.0 folder, which includes 2 widgets. Now, the widget we're going to be focusing on right at the moment is the Google Map 2.0.0 widget. We do have a Google Maps multi-map loader, which is very, very important to use if you're going to include multiple maps on a single page. But in our particular case right now, we're going to focus on just one map on this page, as to not create any additional communication about that. So we'll focus on Google Maps 2.0.0, go to put it out on our page, and notice that right away we are presented with an error message. Okay, and this is, while error messages tend to be not a good thing, this is actually an okay thing, because it's telling us that we need ultimately to do something to resolve this. Now, one of the reasons why we overhauled this widget, not only to include some new additional features, but we were getting quite a few complaints about this widget simply because Google changed their requirements for the need for an API key if you are going to use their API framework for this widget. So you would, basically what was happening is everyone was getting an error message that looks something like this because Google was looking for an API key. Well, we've actually made that available now in the settings panel, which, as you can see, has gotten a complete overhaul in this widget. One of the things that we are providing now, though, is an API key field. And the reason why you're getting the error message right now is simply because we don't have a valid API key yet. That's exactly what we're going to go do next. Now, what I've done is in my browser here, I've already loaded up the URL address that we need to go to, which is https://console.developers.google.com/apis/credentials. Okay, and then by going here, what you most likely will experience is something a little bit different than what I'm experiencing right at the moment, only because I have already had a Google API account, and I already have an existing project that has been created, so it's defaulting to my latest information. But what you'll most likely experience if you've never been here before is a screen that looks something like this. So Google is going to want you to create a new project. Now, the project name is going to be relative to the client project that you're working on. I would highly suggest that for each client website that you're producing a Google Map for, that you create a different project for them inside the API manager. So you're going to give this a particular name. So in my case, I'll just call this test development, for lack of a better term, but in your case it may be ABC Company, or it may be XYZ Roofing, or whatever it may be. Okay, you may or may not see an organization here. If not, that's okay. I do have one, only because I'm using Google Apps for Work as well for our company. So it is going to automatically assign it to an organization. If you don't have one here, no problem. So we're going to go ahead and click Create. Okay, so it's creating a test, creating the project test development. Okay, you can see it's kind of moving up here just a little bit. Slowly but surely. There it is. Okay. So now this is what you'll experience once you've created your account. And the first thing that it's going to ask us to do is identify the libraries that we want to use. All right. So in our particular case, we are going to use this library right here called Google Maps JavaScript API. So we're going to simply click that. Okay, and it's just going to give us some basic information about what this does, but the only thing we need to do in this case is click this button right here called Enable. So we click that, you can see that it is currently enabling, and then momentarily you'll see that now you're seeing a bit more of a dashboard about this API, and of course the ability to disable it if need be. But it's also giving you some additional advice saying that you need to go create credentials now, which is really was going to be our next step by coming over here as well. But we'll go ahead and click this button here that says create credentials. Okay, and so we're going to do, actually scratch that, I don't like this interface. So we're going to go to credentials here. All right, we're going to click create credentials API key. And you'll see that right out the gate, it creates an API key for us. So this is the value that we need. So we're going to click copy here. So we've copied that now so that we can go then paste that into our widget. But I want to draw your attention to one more thing here before we go. And that is right now this API key, if someone obtained this key, they could use it on their website or on, basically whoever gets this key can use it. It is not restricted in any way. Now, I do recommend that while you are developing, that you leave it unrestricted, just the way that it is right now. But when you're ready to go live and you're ready to publish this to the domain by which you are publishing this website to, you should definitely come in here and go to restrict key. And I would highly suggest, because right now it's selected to none, I would highly suggest that you use HTTP refers to restrict it. And what that means is by coming in here, and let's just say that the domain that you're creating this on is, well, let's pick on MuseGrid, for example. Okay, so let's say we're putting this on MuseGrid. We're going to go *musegrid.com/*. So we're basically saying anything that's before .musegrid.com is acceptable. Anything after .musegrid or after .com/ is acceptable. So like a subdirectory or another page or whatever it may be. But it must contain this in the URL address. Okay, by doing that, you can see just clicking off of it, you can see that I can add more as I go. So if you have subdomains or whatever it may be, you can certainly include this here. But what this does is if somebody happened to get a hold of this API key and try to use it on, I don't know, joeschmo.com, for lack of a better domain, it will come back as an error on joeschmo.com because it's restricted down to just on musegrid.com. But again, for development purposes, we need to stay up here on none because in order to use this widget, it'll become a pain in the neck if you don't. So we're going to go ahead and click save on that. I think I copied it to my clipboard a while ago, but I'll go ahead and copy it again, which I just did. I'm going to come over here to Muse. I'm going to open up the Google API field here, paste that in, hit enter, and what we should see now is a map. Okay, so now we are in a position where we can now start using our map. So we've accomplished unpacking the mulib file, dragging our Google Map 2.0.0 widget out to screen, seeing the error message, going out, creating our Google Maps API key, and then now we've applied that API key, as you can see here, to the widget itself, and now we are able to and ready to continue to keep building out the rest of our map. All right, so the last thing that I want to do before we wrap up this setup video is I want to point out the second widget that we have in this bundle called the Google Map Multi-Map Loader. Okay, I'm not going to drag it out the screen just yet because I want to kind of show you why we had to include this widget and in what use case you would actually use it. Okay, so in the event that you just have one map on a page, you do not need to use that widget. However, in the event you have multiple maps per page, for example, I just copied and pasted this widget again, so now we have two maps on a page, but I'm going to be pretty crazy here, and I'm going to do it a total of 4 times. Okay, so there's my third map, and then there's my fourth map. All right, so like on this screen right now, things look perfectly fine, and that's because inside the design environment, Muse is kind of like using this widget. It's contained within itself. But when you go to publish this, or when you go to preview in a browser, you're going to start to see some pretty odd behavior. So we're going to go preview this page in the browser, take a look at it, and you'll notice that, wait a minute, okay, so it looks like all 4 of them have a map, but the problem is this one here is the only one with a marker. So what would happen if I refresh again? Oh, now these 2 have a marker and these 2 don't. Well, what about one more time? What if I get, oh, now this one has a marker, wait, and it has controls, but none of these 3 do. And that's because if you go to inspect element, Google's telling us, hey, chill out. You guys are using the Google Maps API initialization code on multiple times on a single page. Now this, I will tell you, is nerd stuff, okay? But there's a reason why we created this maps, the multi-map widget, is to solve this problem. So if you have multiple maps on a single page, all you have to do is come into your library, drag and drop this widget out to screen, and you'll notice that in the settings panel it has 2 fields. It has an API key field and a language field. We're only going to focus on the API key for the moment. And that means that you have to get the same API key that you used in the single map a while ago. So we're just going to come in here and copy that. And we're going to come in here and paste it here, just like so. All right, so now in design view, you're really not going to notice anything different, but you will notice a huge change when we go to preview in browser. So now you'll see that all the maps are actually operating as expected. So all of them have the controls, all of them have the markers, and so on and so forth. And that is because what we've done, if you go to look to inspect element now, you'll see that there are no error messages anymore, and that's because we've kind of done some hocus pocus magic, if you will, and made sure that the Google Maps API only loads one time. As long as you use the multi-map loader widget, it will only load one time per page if you have multiple maps on a page. Now this only works with our Google Maps widget. It won't work with the built-in Maps widget for Muse or any other third-party widgets. It will only work with ours, but ours will eliminate any error messages that you would normally be used to experiencing if you have multiple maps on a page, or even for that matter the original API error that caused us to overhaul this anyway. So this is just an additional piece of information that's helpful to you on how you would use multiple maps on a single page.